Welcome to another episode of Crypto Posse. And I'd like to quote one of my favorite comedian slash actors of all time. Good morning, Vietnam! Which is fitting when you think about it, because we're about to do a whole episode today about the Trump tariffs, and Vietnam and every other country in the world is in the mix. Okay. So just got to say, real exciting times for us. Very, very exciting things going on all over the place. And I think it's about time for us to dive into this episode about the Trump tariffs.
What's up, guys? Beautiful day here in Southern California. Not so much on the global markets, but with the tariffs, it's already wiped out since mid-February, $10 trillion, six of it after the tariffs were announced 2 weeks ago. Pretty crazy. Custom agents have already been collecting the 10% tariffs on the smaller countries. Tomorrow, 9:01 Pacific time, Wednesday, they collect 11 to 50% on the bigger countries.
Whew.
So quite interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, let's just have a wide open discussion about all things Trump tariff and see where we can go and have fun with it, which is, like Will's classic thing, come in hot on the, buy the fear, right? I mean, looks like everyone's running in fear because I don't know if you guys have seen any sort of news outlet or anything. And all you hear about is just people going crazy over this whole tariff thing. So,
Yeah, and I think tomorrow is going to be interesting, obviously Wednesday, when it takes into effect on the bigger countries. Bitcoin, as for Bitcoin, it touched 74, back up to 79. It's kind of in a new lower range. Probably going to decline tomorrow, I would think. But I think really it's how this has worked out in negotiations as the tariffs with Trump. Like if he's going to impose a 25% and they might offer 15, he's going to, end of the day, he's going to want the money. Like, show me the money is kind of his thing. So however it works out, it's going to be interesting how communication with these countries is going to be a real key factor in the coming days, weeks.
haven't I read something that already up to 50 countries have reached out to try to establish communication and negotiation?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, well, just that's a sign right there, because I'm pretty sure, not that we're trying to be a political show, which I want to make clear, we're not a political show. We're not a lot of things, okay? But one of the things we are is trying to just kind of have a show where we discuss ideas, and see where those ideas land, right? But I mean, I'm pretty sure if we're going to talk about the recent administration that would be headed by Joe Biden, I don't think 50 countries talked to him over the 4 years he was there. Okay. But, okay. But I mean, this dude's been in office for 2 months, maybe 2 minutes. Okay. And 50 plus countries are already going, hey man, what's up, Mr. Trump? Could think we could have a chat? It's like, yeah, well, that's what we're here to do, man. So the idea about why, what, when, or where, I like earlier, yesterday we were talking about, I think it was you, Will, had something you were saying about had something to do with what Trump is doing as it relates to interest rates and what that whole, that's a rad thing you were talking about. Love to hear more from you on that.
I mean, so what I hear you guys currently talking about is it sounds like it's a negotiation tool, right? And I like to look at it like that because when you go and you look up what tariffs are taxes that are imposed by the government on imported goods. Being as the fact that it's being used as that tool, I think that I like to look at things as puzzle pieces because there's so many working parts to this conversation. What tariffs are compared to what tariffs are being used for. So I see it as that tool that the administration is using to push the hand of the Federal Reserve, which has everything to do with interest rates, which has everything to do with the fact that some of the bonds are expiring in the US stock market. And what happens is we need to refinance about $8 to $9 trillion. So would we rather refinance that at a high interest rate or at current rates, or possibly use the tariffs as a tool to force what we call QE, which is quantitative easing, that's done by the Federal Reserve to then therefore lower interest rates. And then look at these two puzzle pieces. You got interest rates and you've got debt that needs to be refinanced. So it kind of looks like they're starting to fit together. Very interesting.
Wow. Okay, so in a way, we're talking about someone playing. Let me see if I can, wrap my head around it in my own way. As if you're saying that Mr. Trump, President Trump, might be playing puppet master and, forcing the hand of the Fed to be at the end of his string and then be able to lower the rates, which therefore would be able to refi our national debt, which at one point could save us $1 trillion, give or take.
Trillions of
Trillions,
dollars.
not a trillion, trillions, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean, at that point, I think people could stop crying and start bowing down to the fact that this dude is smarter than they might give him credit for. Because right now, a lot of the media is, I know you talk a lot about this buy fear thing, Will, but man, oh man, is there fear out there? They're pushing fear fear is being pushed, and it surprises me because, it doesn't surprise me. I guess I shouldn't say that. I just think, well, there's another side to this, guys, that you're not seeing. Last night I saw a thing where Donald Trump was being interviewed and he looked at the lady and said, that is just the stupidest question.
Is there pain in the market at some point you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put? Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I think I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. We have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico, they moved it to Canada, they moved a lot of it to China. Now we have hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country on a monthly basis, and eventually it's going to straighten out and our country will be solid and strong again.
He feels very confident. However, so many of people are just throwing up all this different stuff. But anyway, I don't want to dominate the conversation. I just think it's a really interesting category to talk about, in a sense, the pros and cons or whatever there is of this whole Trump tariff thing during this episode. Mike, what are you thinking about the tariffs right now, mister?
Well, I think at the end of the day, you look at President Trump, he's a businessman. And, he's going to do whatever he can to adjust these deficits that we have. Like Will stated, we have somewhere around $9 trillion deficit that he's trying to adjust. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. He's obviously going after right now. And like Jeff was saying, if we can get these countries to come together and get some sort of balance, I think it's gonna pan out in the long run. Obviously, we're gonna deal with some pain. Like Jeff was saying, the stock market's been being brutalized. The day after these tariffs were announced, the Dow was down about 1,100 points. We had Friday down 2,200 points, which I think as far as points, I'm not sure as a percentage, but I've never ever in my life heard 2,200 points down on the Dow. You got the S&P 500 that had the worst week ever since COVID. So I think maybe we should inject our dollars with some bleach and see what happens.
Yeah.
The tariffs have been terrifying to the market.
Big time.
So President Trump's a businessman. He's got to step in. And is there something at play here? I think, the tariffs, if you can get the tariffs to slow the economy enough, like Will was saying, if it slows the economy enough, then the Fed has to step in. I think Trump has probably approached them and asked them to lower the interest rates. So is this a ploy by President Trump? Is it a strategic business move? Maybe so.
Maybe so. You'd have to assume that, there's something going rattling around in his head. He's not just doing this for to make himself feel good. I mean, there's a lot of reasons they don't seem to, a lot of people don't seem to understand. I like to relate it to, if you're uncomfortable at your job and you want to rise up with the fellow employees because you've been asking your job, 50 years ago or 100 years ago when they started unions, unions were a big thing to be able to negotiate better gig. Sometimes people had to strike. Recently, there was the entertainment industry had a couple strikes because they wanted better treatment, better pay, whatever they wanted, right? Sometimes you got to go through the pain to get to the gain. It's kind of like working out. So, I mean, people are so weird right now. They just, I mean, I get it. He's doing a lot. It's really radical. But come on. What are you going to, in one day, it's going to be better? Like, it's going to take a little time. It's just blows my mind.
It's pretty crazy that these people are picketing when all President Trump is trying to do is save them money. The taxpayers, from what Doge is doing, they've promised the American taxpayers a percentage of the savings from this gross spending that they're finding, and they're offering us potentially a $5,000 check. Now, are those people that are standing in line and picketing gonna wipe their ass with that check and throw it in the trash can? Or are they going to cash it? I'm sure they'll be in line cashing the check just like we are. So, I don't, it doesn't matter to me if they're from the right, the left, or if they're from outer space, which I think they are. It's a little bit ridiculous, what you're seeing, and it's kind of like they're so bored and lonely that they have to be part of something. I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, I would say that if we'll just talk about the other side and what they're kind of, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think a lot of people are reacting to the idea of the slowing down of the markets is going to create a certain downturn in economic, in spending. Like people are right now, even the lady at the store, I went to Ralph's last night and the lady was saying, the manager, oh, wow, I see everyone's really slow here. People are scared to spend. She's from Romania, but, people are scared to spend money right now. I could see it, and I'm like, yeah, well, it is a unique time. So the big discussion is, how everything's going to go up in price and people don't know. It's a time of, I don't know, in terms of next month, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, spending. Everyone assumes everything's going to cost more. And that makes people worried because now the companies are talking about they got to lay people off. There's just a lot of domino effect on the other side. But, it's all fear. And they're pumping the fear for whatever reason, right?
Yeah, there's uncertainty in the markets, and that's why you see people they're pulling dollars out, they're holding onto their cash,
Yep.
they're putting money into the bond markets. I'm sure money's going into gold because
Oh,
they're
yeah,
much
definitely.
more stable. So when you see uncertainty, that you tend to move your assets around and see what happens.
Well, and to be fair, you know, this is uncertain. I mean, we could collectively assume we could probably say we all kind of like the idea of what he's trying to do, right? I don't think any one of us stands, directly against what he's trying to do, but I think the resultant possibilities of the reaction to what he's trying to do is worse than the actual action.
I can't get this off my mind, so I might as well just share it. We're talking about fear.
Yes, sir.
They're injecting fear porn. Like it's insane. It's just like left and right and fear and
Big time.
tariffs and all these things. But as Mike said, what does that result in? FUD, the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, right? And I love that you brought that up, Mike, when you said talked about bleaching the dollar, because what I heard you say is what I know, right? The US dollar is the global backed currency, right? It backs all these different countries. But then we also know that before Doge, a lot of these dollars, US tax paying dollars, is being given to other countries, whereas I think we're the only one that does that. We're the only one that taxes our people and then gives money out for free
A lot of it, right? Not just a little bit. Like we give out some serious cashish all over the world.
all over the world. And what is crazy is like you talk about these people that are picketing or like not in agreement. That's cool. Like I don't expect anybody to agree with my opinions.
Yeah.
I know it resonates with people, but it's just an opinion, right? How come these people aren't taking that same energy and going and growing food at their house, right? It's like they've got this energy leak and they're just freely giving up all this energy to all this fear porn that's causing them to make really poor financial decisions. But then if you just take a step back and you realize, okay, we can go deep into it. The US dollar is the cleanest dirty laundry. That's what I heard Mike say.
Wow.
They're all dirt, they're all
Pretty
dirty.
good.
It's all manipulated, right? And whether people agree with me or not, that's a whole nother conversation. Because even when you use this title, maybe it's called, we call the news, right? I love sharing this because I haven't heard too many people, one, tell me, or two, they're like, dude, what are you talking about? So this is what it is. The news is stands for NEWS. It sounds like a compass already, but it sounds like a broken compass because a normal compass is north, south, east, and west. It's not northeast, west, and south. So the news is literally designed to keep you in your emotions with a broken compass. And I ask this question. If I dropped you off in the middle of the desert with a broken compass, what's the probability of you getting out of that desert? Probably low.
Less than it would if there was a working compass.
Exactly. But then that working compass, what if the news was telling you like, oh, talking to you about tariffs and giving you different perspectives and saying, maybe is a good time to start investing. They're not going to tell you that. Just like that analogy you brought up a couple episodes ago about when the shoe shiner was asking, one of the
Rockefeller.
Rothschilds, like, hey,
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller, thank
Yeah.
you. Give me some financial advice. And it's like the global elite don't teach these things in school for a reason. These tariffs, again, I'm looking at life different. Most these people, and I'm not saying anything negative. This is just how I see it. These people that are picketing, those people are playing checkers. When the people at the top, they're playing a whole different game. They're playing chess. They're like 3 or 4 moves ahead. These people are reacting to this fear porn. They don't even know what they're reacting to. And then you make this valid point, somebody from another country, if you just like maybe raise your eyes for a moment and stop looking at and staring at a fucking screen all day, you would see literally the writings on the wall. People are scared. And then look at the chart. If the chart's showing you what the news is going to tell you after. So it's just this puzzle piece. Where does this piece fit? And then how can we utilize it? And you brought that point that I bring up. Not financial advice, but these are those opportune moments when there's fear. And if you buy the fear slowly, you're going to be profitable. You're going to make what you call kashish.
As you see the markets today, there's a little bit of a dead cat bounce, like what they would, say in the stock market. People are chipping away, injecting a little bit of capital and seeing what's going to happen here. Maybe a little bit of bottom fishing. I think the Dow was up about 900. No, it was up about 1,200 points to start the day, and now it's already starting to dip. So people are, day trading the market a little bit, finding those opportunities, kind of like what Will's talking about, cashing in a little bit on the fear. Whether that's going to hold or not, I think we got a lot of pain to come, and this isn't going to be something that's going to be resolved overnight, obviously.
And I think too, it's similar to COVID when we get short on supplies. So some of these countries that are kind of holding back Like I know Jaguar, Range Rover, Land Rover, yes, upscale uh, cars, and then you have Rolex, which is Switzerland. They're not shipping any products right now. So, for you start looking at where maybe the wealthy start thinking about investing. So it's probably safe to say certain nice items like that are probably going to skyrocket in value. And then if you go down to necessities, China does produce a lot of things in the medical field that we use, computers, uh, uh, materials to make computer products. So it kind of reminds me of COVID, where COVID, was the toilet paper, the hand sanitizer, uh, all those became scarce. And so I could already see uh, as this goes further without final negotiations, we could get into something like that where we could be short on supplies, even scare the world more.
Yeah, which I think in the end of the day, the supply and demand aspect is at the core of everything, right? So, I mean, if there's, a shift, right? If anything, it would make people, I think, kind of force them to realize how lucky we are, how good we have it, like to appreciate when times are so fluid and that we're just trying to get to a more fluid place in order to do it. There's the, like I like to think of it as a big, boulder, kind of Donald Trump threw a boulder in a pond, and the ripple is that all these countries are like today, for instance, from what I've read, China is having a big reaction to the big, tariffs that Trump's talking about with China. And then China's saying, well, we're going to come in and play war with you guys on this. And they're going to put a 50%. As we speak today, there's a very big issue about what's going on with just China and the U.S., let alone everyone else. But I mean, once this settles down and people do their negotiating, this is that epic moment. Well, tomorrow at 9:01, right? But whatever, right in this period of time is that epic moment where we're trying to make that shift from what I think the people who believe in what he's thinking is that we had an unfair trade situation for decades. And he's just trying to come in and straighten it out, create a more fair opportunity. It probably doesn't look fair to them because they've had such a good deal. Whoever them is, it's been a great situation for everybody, right? But it's just kind of like, it's just not fair. So he's trying to get to a more fair place. And I agree that I think we all believe that, to some degree it's a negotiation tactic. We'll see where it goes. We have no idea, right? No idea. So that's why today's episode is so cool because, and make sure you send comments and likes and, follow us because that's how we continue engaging with you guys is we'd love to hear comments from you guys. Just anyone, whoever it is to talk about this issue or any issue you want to talk about, Crypto Posse wants to hear from you.
I mean, and again, just to kind of reinforce what you were just mentioning and what we're all really talking about, it's a multifaceted tool, right? So yeah, we're here sharing these ideas that it potentially could be used to lower interest rates. But then I just think that we have the right man, even though I think that he's just a talking head, a puppet. I mean, he definitely follows orders. Not a lot of people are going to agree with that viewpoint. That's fine. But being as the fact that it's a negotiation tool, I also see that there's that back end to the deal that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, which is I've even heard, and I could be wrong, but what I have heard is that Trump is even saying like to these countries like China, like, hey, not only are we trying to create what I love you brought it up to that fair trade, because it should be fair. I know we talked about it in previous episodes, but at the same time, it's, hey, rebuilding the infrastructure and making America, I hate to repeat what I've heard him say, but make America great again. Because on the back end, it kind of is like that, hey, I'm going to impose tariffs on you. But if you build a factory here in the US, then there's no taxes, no extra taxes that are going to be imposed on you. So it's like reinforcing this infrastructure of bringing business, because at the end of the day, everything we talk about only reason why I know what I'm sharing is because I follow the money. You're never going to hear me say that I watch the news. I don't listen to a broken compass. That's going to keep me emotional when, how are you going to make a sound financial decision if you're not all there? If you're spread out, if you've got these emotions that are, oh my gosh, it's the Trump or it's Biden. To me, it's like you're pointing the finger. When are you going to start pointing the thumb, right? You take responsibility. It's not up to some governmental body to do it for us. We should band together. And I saw it happen during COVID where you talk to one person, it's like, oh my gosh, COVID is so negative. You talk to me, I think there was so many positive things to take away from it. For just me being the spiritual person that I am, dude, the social distancing was a freaking gift. Like, I don't want people in my energetic space. I don't want to rub shoulders with somebody at the grocery store and then pick up on their bad energy. I just don't. But that's a perspective, right? One of many. So tying that again back into these tariffs, I think it's a beautiful multifaceted tool that's being used because I don't think that the United States has a revenue problem. Like we bring in money. We have a spending problem. And going back to what we were talking about, some of the spending problems we were having was giving free money out to these countries. I mean, even this is like not even a joke at one point. I think they were saying when Doge first kind of started doing its thing, which was an AI agent, like go find where all this money's being given. I think they were going to give like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we talked about it, like $50,000 to a country for condoms
I think it was
or
much. I think it
50
was,
million or
yeah,
something.
some sort of outrageous number. So that, God, what country could, yeah, like African country? I don't know where. Maybe it was Nigeria or so. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it was
Right.
some country where all of a sudden we're giving them, some outrageous number of condoms, which I don't know what's going on with that. But you know, yeah, I don't even know how to comment on that. That's so bizarre. But we've heard a lot of different stuff, along those lines about, different things they found that they were spending money on. I mean,
$1 billion was they spent $1 billion on a survey for the national parks that didn't even go anywhere, didn't have any information. There was no reason why they even did it. It was just some survey that was came to a dead end.
yeah, but someone
It
got
served no purpose, but there was $1 billion
a
of waste.
billion.
$1 billion, yeah.
Okay, so obviously some people got, some clicked into some money on that. I mean, it's just such, there's just scams rolling left and right. That's like payola, it's just pure payola. Like, meanwhile, the taxpayers being fleeced. And what, I just love what you guys have mentioned today. It's like, it's so weird that the actual taxpayers would be, you know, picketing or whatever, having these, events in the over the weekend or whatever that, Trump and the tariffs and they're like crying about the border being, oh, wow, we actually have hardly anyone coming through the border right now. Like, what? Like, oh, is that a problem? Like, where can we go in the world? Even if I just want to go to Mexico, I got to have my papers. Like, it's this great free country, and what, you can just show up to the party without, I mean, it's just bizarre the way people think or what's going on. But there's about to be a big shift, and hopefully what we could see from that shift is something that would create economy to generate, we're at a unique time where it's people don't all see the vision.
And I'm wondering, with all this negotiation, it seems to open a lot of doors to South American countries. I had read China had threatened the U.S. Would lose, I think, 38 billion in soybean production. Now they're looking in negotiation with Brazil. So I feel that's an open door for other countries to have talks, whether it's Brazil, Costa Rica, for climate, weather of things that they could produce there. And I feel it's just opening this whole opportunity for South American countries because of where we are right now. All of a sudden, everything's kind of under negotiation. It's just opened the floodgates for that.
It's a real new time for opportunity for people to find markets for their products, to discuss the numbers behind it, and to hopefully settle on something. I mean, this whole tariff thing is basically a big shift, a big moment for everyone to go, okay. Obviously, he's coming in super hot on the number, just hey, boom, boom, boom. And, it's causing people to go, oh my God. But really, as it hopefully negotiates and settles, hopefully there will be a day not too far in the future where, the world will have a whole new deal. And everyone will click into gear. And hopefully that gear is a good gear with more open markets. I mean, right now you hear a lot of there's a lot of negative energy out there about it. And they're hunkering down and trying to figure out their little negative fear space. But you know what? I think part of it's also ego. If you ask me, it's kind of like, something about Donald Trump makes people's egos feel offended and their national pride gets, they feel threatened. And at the end of the day, if they could see it as an opportunity to renegotiate, but the truth is we've had a crap deal for a long time and they're all used to kind of taking advantage of us. And yeah, they're probably bummed that little party ended. But we're not, are we? I'm not pissed about it. I'm stoked about it. Like, I don't like the idea that the way the numbers that I would always hear would just blow my mind. I'd always be like, who made that deal? It sounds anti-American,
I mean, if I was a country and I was actually going through these tariffs with the United States, I love that point that I believe we're all on the same page and making, which is an opportunity for me to sit down and talk to one of the juggernauts in the world, right? A superpower, right? And that puts me at that table to negotiate. And I'd be asking questions like, how can we make this work? How can we collaborate? Do I need to, open up a facility, on the US soil? How is this going to benefit us? There's just so many things that we can talk about that are positive, but that's viewed through that lens you just spoke of, through the lens of opportunity. And like Jeff was bringing up, like there's so many doors that were already there. But now that there's light on it, maybe Donald Trump can be that light that it's like if you're in the dark and all of a sudden you get blasted by the light, what's that going to do? I mean, oh my gosh, it's too bright. And that's kind of like what I see him doing. It's like, oh my gosh, it's too much. I can't handle it. And it's this meme. I know you guys have seen it where Donald Trump is, giving a speech and he's like, we're going to win. You're going to be tired of all the winning. I mean, associating that to like the crypto market, it's the opposite, right? We're not winning. The price isn't going up. But when you back engineer that and you look at it through the lens of opportunity, man, you could align yourself strategically by grabbing this opportunity. And then when the dust settles, because it will, and the fear porn is gone and the FUD is out, I think it really comes down to interest rates. Because look at how that's not just going to affect the government. How's that going to affect the poor or the middle or even the upper class? Like, how are tariffs going to affect us? And I think that as the tool that it's being used as, if interest rates are lower, isn't it cheaper to go borrow money? Isn't it easier for you to want to go in that environment to go buy a house, to start doing the opposite of what that lady said in the market? You feel a little bit more comfortable. You start spending money. Why? Because it's cheaper to borrow.
It's like it'll juice the market. It'll stimulate the market.
Exactly. And you go back to these terms that the Federal Reserve uses, which is QT, quantitative tightening. To me, that's like them pulling money off the table. Whereas QE, quantitative easing, is like lower interest rates. It's cheaper to borrow money. They're obviously, if you look at a specific chart called the M2 money supply, you could see that the global money in circulation is going up. What does that mean? How's the Federal Reserve going to beat inflation by printing more of the dirtiest laundry, call it, the US dollar? How can you beat that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never understood that either. I've never understood that at all.
You're printing, which devalues it,
Yeah.
and then kind of like even bringing crypto to the talk and how it all fits in with tariffs. It's like, why are people scared to spend money when it's being printed into oblivion? And as they hold it, the value of that dollar is going down the buying power, right? It's supposed to, these tariffs are supposed to trickle down to the low class because we should see with lower interest rates, we should see cheaper living in all aspects, cheaper gas, cheaper food. That's really where the benefit's going to happen. Now, if that's going to be the result, we're going to have to tune in and watch as these things are being played out. But nonetheless, it really is that word that resonates with me. It really is an opportunity for countries and for people to reassess what they have going on in their life and make a new plan if the plan that they're currently exercising is not working out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can see that, you know, things weren't doing that good. They weren't horrific, but the amount of debt that we carry as a nation is just absolutely bizarre. I'm not sure, but was it Clinton that actually we got in the black for the first time? I, I think President Clinton, at one point we were in the black, okay? But he's the guy that kind of brought about free trade. So I don't want to, I'm not a believer in free trade. I think it was a scam. But I like to think of something called fair trade. And I think once we get to an actual reality of global fair trade, I think we're going to see just alone the interest rates, the whole when the whole thing kind of turns positive, which right now it's at that epic pre-earthquake, middle of the earthquake vibe, right? I think if we could see gas go down, like, you know, he talked about reducing gas to, like, you know, in California, I'm paying $5. If it goes down to 250 to $3, and that, just that, and the interest rates being dropped to whatever degree, holy, just that's going to put octane in the gas tank, and then it's just going to fuel it. And if on top of that, there's new balanced trade deals, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm thinking there's a day within 6 months to a year. I don't have a crystal ball and I can't put a time frame on it guaranteed, but I just feel like within 6 months to a year, it may be the time for all these crybabies to eat their words and just shut up and go to work and be part of a really bustling economy that some radical rebel businessman had to do to show up to shake things enough to rattle the cage. So we got a new opportunity.
And we've already seen some positive feedback from, people injecting capital back into our economy, saying they're going to rebuild, and we've had three over $3 trillion promised to bring back into American industry from companies like Hyundai, Amazon, Oracle have all promised to, build and expand in America. So we're starting to see, some positive things from this already. There's a lot of negative in the media, but there is some definite positive things that are starting to happen as far as like rebuilding American industry, securing supply chains. I think, another reason these tariffs are taking place is to assert our dominance to protect national security. And, obviously, people that are critics of this are going to say we're going to see higher prices, we're going to see global fallout, we're going to see trade wars, which, kind of we're seeing right now with America and China going back and forth. But again, I think it's going to rebalance, and in the end, it's going to be a good thing.
I agree with you on that 100%, Mike. And this topic is so stimulating in so many ways. I mean, let's just talk a little bit about what tariffs are, in a sense, what they do, what they're here to do is basically, I mean, I like the idea. I've talked about it in a previous episode where a thing that I talk about is fair trade, where I'd like to institute a 10% global fair trade deal. I don't care who you are, where you are. We want 10 front, 10 back. Let's do this. Let's open up the world's markets. Let's just go play ball. I don't know why it's got to be so complex, but right now it's just really got this heat on it because the deals that we had were so unfair. At least I think we all agree on that. I don't know. Do people not agree with that? I mean, if there's people that actually think they like the deals we've had, for instance, with China or different, it's like, okay, well, whatever. But I kind of like where he's coming from. I don't like everything about the dude. I don't like really anything about any politician. I don't like everything about anyone really in terms of in the political arena. But because he's a businessman first, I feel like I at least I like where he's coming from when he talks business, which when I listen to like the previous president, I don't really feel like he approached it like a business. Right now, we're really looking at the business reality of how we interact with the world. And I just think that with tariffs being a tool to communicate to others, because it's really how we communicate with other countries. Like, what are we paying? What are you paying? I mean, yeah, we're buying your products, you're buying our products, but I like it. I do got to say, I like what's going on.
I love that your viewpoint isn't free trade, it's fair trade, right? And the fact that he used the word reciprocal. If somebody told me, and I'm taxing you, you know, 60%, and then you come at me and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to impose a reciprocal tax on you. It's going to make me rethink, which goes back to that negotiation tool. And now all of a sudden it becomes more, and I don't think it's ever going to be a level playing field. The world we live in isn't fair. But like, let's just be honest with ourselves for a moment. Accept that. But being as the fact that the world is not fair doesn't mean that you can't do something about it. You can invest into yourself. And I love even that us, the posse, right? We're in negotiation too of putting together, behind the scenes talks of like how can we not just talk about what's happening? How can we collectively, I call it collective intelligence. I believe I'm in the right space with the right people. I could ask you guys the right question. And then what's that going to do is going to help us formulate a strategy. And trust me, I put my money where my mouth is. I have a mentor. I pay for a mentor for a reason, right? Through that mentorship, I also have an accountability partner, right? If we were accountable for the things that we do, the things that we say, there would be massive change overnight, right? But that takes a lot of that pointing of the thumb. Take fucking responsibility for a minute. I do. And you know what? Even like to sum up everything that we're going through, like globally, it's called growing pains. But listen to the growing part. There's gonna be pain associated with that growth. There's gonna be things like in my life at my age, I'm realizing like, hey, I gotta cut the fat out. I can't be having just, 2-hour conversations with people on the street anymore. Like I gotta be more structured with my time management. That's taking responsibility. I have good conversations with the posse, behind the scenes that are helping me too. So I'm putting people in place, just like Trump is. He's got all these people that are in the right place around him that maybe are smarter than him. And that's what you do. You don't show up to a room wanting to be the loudest guy, because usually the loudest guy in the room is the brokest one. You want to show up to a room where sometimes it's super uncomfortable and it's very intimidating. When I show up and I'm the dumbest person in the room and I'm surrounded by people that are playing life at a higher level, that have all these people that are hired in the right places to help them. That's what I'm positioning myself to do, is use these moments like the tariffs, because I mean, what if it was something else, but still a tactic that's injecting fear? But again, when you look at it like opportunity, if people just listen to like one thing, and I know it's repetitive, if you just buy fear and there really is an indicator that will tell you this, you can go look up what the sentiment of the market is. If you start to see extreme fear and you use that as your strategy to start deploying some of your capital, well, then all you got to do is be patient. Again, like I mentioned before, let that dust settle because as that settles and these negotiations start to become more of pen to paper, and then once that ink dries and the deal's done, well, the fear is going to go away, the markets are going to recover, and you're going to literally, your future self is going to thank you for taking action. Because I think that's one of the biggest things that I see that's happening in these tariffs and with Trump is he's taking action and all the people that are doing the protesting or have like a negative thought about it, like that's cool. But learn to ask more questions, speak more curiously, and let your opinion become the back seat driver. Because through that, you're going to educate yourself. You're going to broaden your perspective. You're going to start to change, like when I was talking about mindset, like use these moments as moments of what you said, Joseph, use them as moments of opportunity.
Which really feels like at the end of the day, what this is just we've got to collectively figure that vision out. Where I think obviously some of us do see that, we kind of are fans of at least rattling the cage. This radical comes in and just rattles the cage, and a lot of people just can't, at least so far, haven't seen what we see. But the good thing about what we're doing here, I feel, is like we get to share these ideas, which are positive. We're injecting positive energy out into the airspace via YouTube any way we can to get people to hear positive energy, which is, see it as opportunity, buy the fear, ask questions. Okay. Re-strategize how your time management. These are a lot of positive tools we're discussing with the public today here on Crypto Posse. I would just say, before we head out and go enjoy this beautiful Southern California day, any last thoughts between the posse about all things as they relate to tariff?
I wanted to mention, this is the Crypto Posse. So, with cryptocurrencies being a, risky asset, so to speak, and you see people pulling money out of the stock market, like I said earlier, put it into bonds and gold and more stable assets. It's pretty interesting to see how well cryptocurrency has held up. I would have thought we'd see a bit of a sell-off. We did for a day and then it recovered in a day. So it's showing that its strength and that Bitcoin is here to stay. I'm pretty surprised at how strong it's been.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Once again, to put positive on the table here, what we do at Crypto Posse, I think, is really try to shine a light, try to look at things from different perspectives, and analyze them, talk about them. But right now, while there's a huge amount of fear, and everywhere you look, it's really scared about this whole Trump tariff thing. Here we are trying to shine positive light out into the world because of what we see. And I feel like that's at the end of the day, as humans, we have a choice. See things. We do have the beautiful thing about being humans, we have a choice. We get to choose what we perceive. We get to choose how we want to see things and then act accordingly. So with choice, we can either see it as, something to be all upset about, or we could see what we're talking about, that it's opportunity, that it's a great way to, shift. Here we are in 2025. I think we all knew, no matter what, that what was happening wasn't working. We were sliding downward. And right now, this is a chance for us to be able to see where it goes and hopefully do better. And I just think it's an interesting time. As I started the show and I'm ending it, I feel like it's a really interesting time. And Trump tariffs are obviously a huge part of that.
You brought up one point, and I'll touch on it real quick, Mike. It's beautiful how, like, the whole economy, the whole world is changing, right? And yes, we've been talking about tariffs, but what happened 2 days ago, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, and it's happened to the United States too. They have this control. But I think it was 2 nights ago in Japan, because of the tariffs, they halted trading, which means that retail was so scared because of the fear porn. They're like, I'm taking my money out of the system. Well, that it was happening so fast. It happened with GameStop. These people have the ability to halt trading. They could stop it. They have the control. But I think what is really like a beautiful driving force is these tariffs because the economy is changing, we're going digital. How crypto fits into it is this. So if the system, like you were just talking about, is a slippery slope, and we're sliding down that thing fast, right? And then these people have the ability to halt trading, which means that they are showing their hand. What are they saying? We're in control, not you. Well, the biggest difference between the old system, I call it the legacy system, and this new golden age that Trump is talking about, because for another conversation, these cycles, ladies and gentlemen, they're being played out over and over and over. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I would love to get into that another day. But how crypto fits into this is, can you halt Bitcoin? Can you stop Bitcoin from trading and it trades 24/7? They don't have that power. They can't shut that down, right? So it fits hand in hand with not so much free, but more along the lines of fair. So I see that as we're going through these growing pains, really how I'm viewing it is that one, it's an opportunity. Yes, I am taking advantage of this opportunity, and that at the end of the day, the system is changing, and this is a really good way to usher in this new digital gold rush cryptocurrency space.
Yes, sir. Boom, bada bing. I couldn't agree more. This is the time, you know? I think we've all been hoping and waiting for a time that would really just be like gasoline on the fire, right? I mean, this is it. And I would just say, let's just wait and see. I mean, we're going to go out. We're going to enjoy our day. It's a beautiful day here in sunny Southern California, right? And let's just see what happens. I mean, I'm pretty excited. I think you guys are pretty excited. Maybe we can share a little excitement with the world. And you know what? Let us know what you think. Comments, likes, follows, bring it. Okay? Let's do this. Super stoked to see you guys again. Crypto Posse. Peace out.
Let's go.
Later.